Nice. So we are a group of women who work as professionals in the field of tantra, and we're currently co-working and co-living together. And so we have lots of interesting discussions. One of the topics that has been coming up a lot for us on this month has been the trend of polyamory and how that's somehow become sort of woven in with tantra into the tantra field. It's not necessarily anywhere in the original tantra or the classical tantra, but these days, if you go into tantra, you usually find polyamory is suggested, recommended, or very prevalent there. So we've been talking a lot about this because we feel it's important to really question something rather than just doing it because it's there. So we wanted to open up our discussion onto camera today. This is our kind of red table discussion. We do have some red down here. To just share a little bit of our stories, our thoughts and feelings and reflections, and open up that conversation with you as well. Yeah. So maybe it'd be nice to just hear from everybody a little bit about your experience, just in a nutshell, obviously not the full long stories, but have you tried it and how long for, and was it through tantra? Just a brief summary, like 3 years of it, 1 year, I tried it once, I've done it forever. I haven't heard it.
For me personally, it's not been a personal experience of myself. I've actually been in monogamous relationships, sort of generally one after the other. And so for me, it's not a personal experience, but the experience that I have of it is from the women that I work with coming to me with their stories, their challenges, and often assisting women in how to navigate their feelings around it.
So that's great. Lindy's the one who helps everybody who's polyamory, the go-to. And
Yeah, for me it has been kind of part of my life for the last few years, and for me it depends more on the partner or on the person that I meet. And I've seen that I have overstepped rather a few boundaries within myself, wanting to do something that I thought was what they wanted. And I sort of changed my perception and my perspective, and often hurt myself actually, because I wanted to be together with that person.
it's almost involuntary polyamory.
I mean, I wouldn't say involuntary because it was a conscious choice that I made,
Right.
but I wasn't sure if I made the choice for me or I made the choice for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. I'm sure a lot of people resonate with that. And Maria?
Yeah, personally, I have been in several polyamory relationships, and none of them were by my initiation. So it was always kind of wanting to follow along with someone else's desires and needs, and a little bit, in hindsight, fear-based, that I didn't want to lose them. So if I could conform, much of like what you shared.
So myself, I started in a 10-year-long monogamous tantric relationship when I started tantra, and in the end there was a situation of lying and cheating and betrayal. So when that broke up, just in the last year, so when that broke up, I thought, right, that doesn't work. If you're forced to lie to each other, that's worse. I thought, I don't want anyone to ever lie to me again, so I will try to be open. So I came into it as a counter strategy to betrayal and lies. Like, okay, what if we're just really open and honest? And I've had so many different forms of that, from like being together with someone, just wanting to share our desires and navigate through it, to being literally having like more than one lover at a time, very, very openly and clearly. And that for me happened within a community where that was recommended. There was a tantra school somewhere near here that really promoted that as the way to be. So there was also like the peer pressure, and I wouldn't say peer pressure, but just like the collective mindset, I would say, where that is acceptable and normal. And so at that time when I was studying tantra in that school, I thought, well, okay, I'll have this lover, this one and this one, but I feel, rather than being in an open relationship, that for me was more like being dating. It was more like, I don't have anyone I particularly want to go deep with, so I'll date a few. So it was more like that. And I noticed by default, every time I really fall in love, even if we think we're going to be open, we just aren't, because we're really in love with each other, and it just like we want to spend all our time together. So I've kind of woven in and out, and I think it's very circumstantial. Like you said, depends on the partner, the situation I'm in, and also in the community.
I think it's been my experience is that when me and my partner got together, it was, well, let's be in an open relationship. We were like, yeah, okay. And then 11 years later, we're still in a so-called open relationship, but we haven't been with anyone else because we really enjoying each other, and there's a dedication, and it's not that it hasn't come up as conversation, but it's like actually the step and the risk of losing something that's incredibly beautiful has kind of stopped it from happening. So,
I've had that too. I call it polyamorous on paper.
yeah.
You know, it's like, let's be polyamorous. And then, you know, we've got that bit of paper saying that we are, but we don't actually use it. I think that's actually a good way, because if you're monogamous and got strict rules and we mustn't, and you know, and it's like you create that big don't do it, then you're kind of feeling trapped. But if you're together because you want to be, then you've actually got your freedom in your choice.
Yeah.
You're free to commit.
That's my experience.
What I see often with people that I work with, especially couples, that it sometimes happens that there is some kind of uncovered issue in the relationship that they are not dealing with, and then one of them has this idea that this is the solution. It's like, I think what I want is to meet other people, when really what is needed is a deeper meeting within that. And then if they go for that, then all kinds of shit hits the fan, and then it's so much more difficult to deal with what is actually the issue, because all this other stuff is happening, and it suddenly is just this big mess and processing,
And all these other energies
so
are
much
brought in.
energy, and they get exhausted, which I understand, because it's constant dealing with
Constant processing.
The Esther Perel, she teaches so much on
I love
infidelity, and I just love, one of the things she says is the reason that we're unfaithful, we go with somebody else. She used to think it's because we wanted another energy, you know, like we wanted that hot Latin lover or that deep earthy man or whatever. But actually, she said, she realizes we want an energy within ourselves, and we almost use another person as an excuse. So if we're feeling stuck and frustrated in a committed relationship, instead of having to go out and use someone else as an excuse, you can really ask yourself, what is it that I want to be that I'm not being? And I'm just going to be it here and now. And of course you could go and get that Latin lover to awaken it, but then you've just got loads more complication and hurt feelings. And so if you can awaken it without having to go through all the complication, then, you know, that would be a better way to awaken it.
I want to ask your opinion on compersion shaming. So compersion being that joy that you feel when you see someone else enjoy, and almost that shame that you get if you're not able to feel that in someone else's intimate experiences.
I'm curious how old the word compersion is. Was it just invented to go with polyamory, or was it around for longer? I mean, I when I grew up, and I have quite a big English language, I never heard the word. I've only ever heard it with polyamory. And just for anyone who hasn't heard it yet, the word compersion means that you should be able to celebrate someone else being happy. So, you know, obviously in polyamory, the extension of that is, hey, your partner's making love with someone else in a play party in the corner, and you should be like, yeah,
Celebrating
such a good time. And so that's called compersion. And like, I kind of question whether that word was just made up because, like, I don't remember it when I was growing up.
I don't remember.
But also as a natural feeling, every woman I know, and a lot of men actually, it's not just female, even though we're all women here, but, you know, the natural feeling is jealousy, not joy. And we're somehow trying to override that. And that's one of the most insipid things in the world of Tantra is you should not feel jealous or pain. You should feel happy for them. I remember once when I was dating a guy who was a Tantra teacher, and he got together with another Tantra teacher, and I was really heartbroken. And so I decided to cancel teaching at a festival where they would both be. And the organizer of the festival said, "What's wrong with you? You're meant to be a Tantra teacher. Get over it." And I thought, like, actually, no, I'm a human, and I have a vulnerable heart, and I feel a lot, and I don't want to spend my week watching them in love. Like, that's just my choice. I want to take care of my heart.
piling on top of each other these feelings of inadequacy, you know, like I'm actually jealous I really honestly feel jealous and I'm in pain, but it's not okay for me to show that. I disregard the feeling, and there's like all these layers,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it gets so heavy.
And then that becomes the shame.
Yeah.
That we're ashamed of the way we love.
So you really become the loser because you've lost your lover. Yeah, you've got the jealousy, and then you're ashamed for having the jealousy, and it's like stab, 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 stab.
Yeah.
It's a multi-layered pain to go through, and yet it's something that we're kind of told that we should put up with, and we have to go through because we've chosen tantra. So I think maybe one of our biggest things is questioning something that started happening for me after about 5 years in in that world of being quite open and being around other people. Doing that is I had this big heartbreak, and then I started questioning, is this the right path? Where is this taking me? I remember doing a heart meditation in a retreat, and looking in my heart and just feeling it was filled with scars, and just I was like, I don't know that this compersion thing is actually taking me where I want to go. I don't know that I'm growing from it. There's just a lot of processing and more pain, and so I think that's a really big question for me. It's like, is it helping us grow?
Yeah, I often ask that question.
Yeah. What's our conclusion?
How
on
much
that one?
pain do I have to go through to become the most evolved being I can be? How about pleasure and self-love and celebration?
Yeah, how about that?
Joy and
Yeah.
bliss.
How about being loved and, having someone making your heart feel safe and making their heart feel safe, How about growing through love?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I was thinking, we were saying earlier actually, was that around polyamory, it's a lifestyle choice. It's being aware that it's a complex subject. It's a complex. You're going to take your heart into a complex dynamic, and you're going to get. It's like going into all sorts of chambers inside your heart that are going to be opened and churned and awakened, and it's sort of like, do you want to do that with your life? Do you want to do that with your daily, do you want to be in process? Do you want to be in that level of heart process? It doesn't mean it's a good or bad choice. It's just to understand that it is a particular quality of process that you're taking your heart through, and it's a conscious choice to make it.
Yeah.
I think that's what I see when I work with the women and couples around it, is that it affects your whole lifestyle and the way you communicate and everything. And it's you have to be really clear that you're choosing that lifestyle.
And what's that sort of, I call it the North Star. What's that quality, that like being that we want to go towards as a couple, as a relationship? And does us being polyamorous serve that thing that we created together?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I think, choose it because of freedom. Like, I have my cake and eat it too. Like, I can be in a relationship and be loved and have all the sex with anyone I want. How perfect. But the reality is, no, there's going to be, yes, and there's going to be a cost for that, which is definitely processing, pain, going through I'm in alone and my partner's out on date night again, or it's an important night for us, it's our anniversary and he's forgotten he's on a date night, or just these things that can cause genuine pain, especially to our inner child. Like there's that quality where we want our birthday celebrated and we want to be special, and sometimes that's really negated, like wanting to be special, should be tantric and transpersonal, but it's so core to our human experience. And there's so much evidence to show that the happiest people and the people who live the longest are those who have core relationships, that feel like a safe space. So if you make your one core relationship an unsafe space, then you're kind of, you haven't got that anymore.
But I do find a lot of polyamorous couples work really hard at creating a safe space in an unsafe environment.
Yeah.
And it's a big energy drain. It's like a lot of leaky energy and a lot of like trying to pull it all back to center. I knew a couple that they had a lot of rules around it, and it was like exhausting just hearing all of their rules. I'm like, how do you even keep track of it? Oh, well, we have a system on our refrigerator.
Wow.
And one of their rules was they actually had like a ticket that they could punch weekly of how many, or monthly, how many dates that each of them could have in a month so that it would be fair.
Wow!
Yeah, this was really interesting. And I said, but do you ever find like, okay, if you're allowed to have 7 dates in 1 month, first of all, for me, that's exhausting in itself. That's a lot. It's a lot of work organizing 7 dates. But so you have these 7 dates, but maybe you've only, the end of the month is coming and you've only had 4 dates.
Yeah.
Do you feel pressure like you got to get those last 3 in? And
3 in 1 day.
the
Because
guy
the
said,
other one
yeah,
had 7.
and the guy said, yeah, actually, yeah, I do feel that pressure. Like I do try and squeeze them in so it's fair. And it's like something's not really in alignment
There's
here.
a risk of becoming a consumer in sex, of like, just getting a little obsessive about having sex with people. I remember once going out for dinner with a man who was in an open marriage, open relationship. And he was an old friend, and I thought we'll just meet up and have dinner. And within like half an hour, he's like, I'll call my wife and tell her that I might spend the night with you. And I'm like, we're just having dinner. Like, no, we're not going to spend the night just because you're polyamorous. And it's like, I realized that he's like, he's out there getting his 7 dates of the month. Or, the whole mindset is on like consuming people. And, it was quite like, oh gosh, like, is that all you think about?
Yeah, it
Becomes an
seems
obsession quite easily.
the definition is loose. Like, is polyamory where you're having a deep, serious, intimate relationship with more than one person. Maybe it's just 1 or 2 other people, versus this very openness of just having a lot of sex. Maybe that's a different definition,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's falling under the polyamory.
Yeah.
I find it.
Yeah.
I think what you said at the beginning, like you said it's like more like dating.
Yeah.
So if you're not in a committed long-term relationship, but you're just having lots of interactions, then that is more like dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems quite natural to me because you're try before you buy, like you're dating, and then if you find a good one, you might drop the others and start settling in. And in a way, like wanting, and then open relationship is the other one, is like we're in a relationship, we are primaries, and we're in a relationship and we're wanting to open it up. I think there are genuine places where opening it up can be really helpful to say. I remember meeting a woman who, she came up with the term dynamic relating after her husband, they had kids and a family, and her husband was unfaithful and they went through a lot of pain. And then they realized that they had different sexual needs, which is just a normal common thing, especially women are mums and don't have the energy. But they wanted to stay together and have a family for their kids. And, there are obvious places where it's not just about being greedy and having all your freedom, but it's like actually this is the best thing to serve the relationship. That I think that's maybe one of the biggest things I find is like, what are you serving? Are you serving your heart and your partner's heart? Are you serving love here? Or are you serving your ego of like wanting as much as possible, wanting to consume, wanting to have it all, wanting to stay free and not having to really commit your heart to loving another human being? So where we come from, what our intention is, seems to be bigger than whether we're polyamorous or not. My partner and I came up with the term poly-intimacy because, we enjoy intimacy in so many ways, dancing with others and cuddling with others, massaging, and we're long distance for some of the time, so we need intimacy, or we feel, we both really like a lot of touch. So we came up with the idea of having a poly-intimate relationship. And at the beginning we thought we'd be open, but then in the end we decided actually penetration feels so sacred now that we're at this stage just keeping it for each other. And like I think like defining, not like rules, but defining, because everybody does interact with each other, and it's better to be open, which is the idea of it being open, and honest, rather than sneaking a touch and a grab because you have unfulfilled needs, and then trying to lie about it, because that creates a massive separation in the relationship. So I do feel like the whole movement is trying to heal that, like sneaking, cheating, lying. There's no, trying to heal that betrayal, which is why I started to explore it. But at the same time, I think we overdid it, went too far, and started to really hurt each other. And
I think it's so important in relationships to just have those conversations of whether, it's not really rules, it's like,
But it's
what are
important.
we comfortable with? How does our heart work? what happens to our, so that we can have intimacy, like you say, we can dance with other people, we can have a massage with other people, we can, cuddle for ages with somebody. It's like, but that doesn't mean every relationship has those boundaries, but it's like, it's really good as a relationship to talk about. Absolutely. Talk about
When my partner and I were going to play parties, we tried to work out what are our rules, this touching, that touching, and we just kept sharing things that had hurt us, like you said. And then we realized, actually, the most important thing is to know that you're taking care of my heart. So we ditched all of the, 3 minutes or exactly 2.5 is too much. All of the trying to work it out and measure it, because actually sometimes your partner just looks at someone and it feels a threat to your heart, and other times they're lying, in a full embrace and moving energy, and it doesn't hurt you at all. So we realized we couldn't quite quantify it, but that the thing that makes this core fear as a human being is that your heart is unsafe, that you've given your heart to someone, you've surrendered into love together. It's so vulnerable, and so you want to know that the other person is going to take care of your heart. So that means if we're at an event where there's lots of energy exchange, we're checking in even from across the room, and we know, that other person is taking care of my heart, and I'm taking care of his, and that's our bottom line, and in that we can rest.
that was one of the key things that shifted something for me, was when my partner, when I kept clocking, what is it when he has that interaction with this woman, what is it? And then when we would dialogue about it, and it was just when I just asked him to just be a bit more attentive in his energy and his presence when we were in those sort of spaces. And when he did that, he was doing the same things, like dancing with someone, being intimate or something, but it was like a look, he would notice me. It was like he never stopped that connection across the room, or that connection, and if he felt like something shifted in me, he would notice, because he never stopped the connection. He'd come over and just give me a kiss or a hug.
You matter to me.
And it was like, that was made a huge difference to that, being able to be intimate and allow each other to have connections with men and women. They're not sexual, but they're like really intimate energetically, and it's really important, the safety of the heart, because then you are free. And I think it's interesting what you were saying. I was like, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, we also have to define what is freedom for ourselves. Because freedom to me means like freedom in my inner landscape. It's like, it's not my actions that make freedom, it's something inside myself.
This is why it's so essential to have all these conversations, to really communicate. What does this mean for you? And what does it mean for you? And does it meet somewhere? And where are the common points? And where can we go from there? And I just also want to appreciate this movement that is happening in the world. I think it's so fantastic, the evolving of the human soul, that we are trying to look for different ways to be together. And it's tough, it's really difficult, but still we're doing it because there is some kind of ignition there going, hey, I want to experience more, I want to feel more, I want to expose myself more, I want to learn. So I just want to really appreciate whoever is stepping on this path as a path of learning and evolution. It's just, beautiful.
But to do it in truth and in safety.
Safe to take risks, safe to expand. I think it's like the thing that makes us want to explore all these things, and indeed tantra as well, is often like we want to expand our range of experience and emotions and our experience of life, and yet that often compromises the safety. But if we think of how can we be safe to expand, then we start getting it that we don't have to compromise, we don't have to create pain for ourselves or others. And that's the thing that touches me, like when I've been teaching at tantra festivals, is seeing if people choose their own freedom, or whatever that is, their own expansion, at the expense of someone else's heart, then it's not worth it. That's like the bottom line. It's like, have all the freedom you want, but not at someone else's expense, because then it's crossing over that sacred line. And if we can take care of each other's hearts, then we can all discover the growth that we want without needing to hurt one another. How will that look? I guess we'll have to find out. Any final words anyone wants to share any hopes for the future for our polyamorous, exploring, polyintimate, polyagonizing world? Someone came up with the phrase polyagony.
Polyagony.
Let's move it from polyagony into
Polyecstasy.
ecstasy
Yeah.
and care. So I think there's our take home for everybody out there who wants to explore this is yes, it is natural to want to expand and fly, and please take care of your heart and everybody else's. How about that for an intention?